Hi guys, welcome to Gardening Radio. Tonight we have Tim Maile. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would like to. Like Danielle said, I am Tim Maile, and I'm the founder of Fox City's Paranormal Team here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I've been doing this for 4+ years now. And I guess I could tell you exactly why we do this. I got into this field, and I like to say, not on my own. I kind of feel like I was chosen to be here, and that might sound arrogant, but if you just listen to the reason, I think it'll make sense. I bought a home here in Oshkosh in 2006, and after a week or two, I started noticing all of this activity. I had footsteps, voices, and sounds that I just couldn't understand, and having never ever dealt with anything like that, it was kind of a shock, and I was real nervous about it. And after about a week or two, I stumbled across a show called Ghost Hunters, and I had never watched any of that before. And I was I was watching wrestling one night, and they had a commercial, and that's kind of how it happened. I went to their website, and they mentioned that they have family teams and smaller teams in my area, and it intrigued me because I thought maybe I could get somebody in here that could explain what was going on in my home. And I tried emailing 4 teams in this area, and I didn't get an email back, and it was kind of a disappointing thing, and I decided that I needed to educate myself. And over the next 6 months or so, I read everything I could. I watched the shows, which isn't a real good way to train yourself, but it's all I had at the time. Watched the shows and some documentaries, and like I said, I read a lot. After about 6 months, I started opening up to people at work about what was happening in the home because originally I wasn't talking about it a whole lot because people kind of look at you kind of funny if you start telling me you have ghosts in your house. And after about 6 months, I was talking to a guy at work, and we threw out the idea of starting our own team. And it really came down to me saying, if I couldn't get the help when I needed it, how many people are out there that are trying to email and get help, and they're not receiving it either? And there should be a team out there that, for lack of a better term, gives a damn. And that's kind of how it started. And over the first 6 months or so, we had 2 cases. And it was a little disappointing. And, boy, I'm saying "and" a lot here. We started the team, and 6 months later, we'd only had 2 cases. At that time, my co-founder decided that, this really wasn't for him. And there was another guy that was working with us. It wasn't for them, and I bought the equipment and got an email from a Tony Macario, and he asked to be able to help with the team. And ever since Tony joined the team, it's really taken off. And I'm pretty proud to say that over the course of 4 years, we've done over 100 cases, 100 residences, and we do some of the fun cases, but our primary focus is the residential investigations, and I'm pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. What's your favorite tech tool to use?
I'm not one of those people that really gets into the tech side of it. It's kind of, I guess my reasoning for that is, don't get me wrong, we use some of the tech tools, and I guess if you ask me, hey, what's your favorite piece of equipment, I would guess that the most valuable for me would probably just be an EMF meter, just to be able to debunk things. But the reason I don't get too much into the tech side of it is I've been sitting in rooms before where we had all of our equipment out and all of our monitors and these meters. And I think that sometimes it takes away from your investigation because you're spending so much time watching that stuff and not enough time experiencing what might be happening in the room. And, personal experiences are great and all, but everybody wants that piece of evidence. So it's got to be kind of a happy balance between the two. I mean, you don't want to miss anything that might be happening right in front of your face because you're staring at this K2 meter that's across the room. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I don't get too far into the tech side. We keep it pretty simple. We have the K2 meter, we have a Maile meter, we have EMF meter, your normal digital recorders, IR cameras, that type of stuff. But we don't get too outlandish with our equipment.
You sound a lot like the way that I approach it too. I'm more on the other side, and I have people that come in with the tech just for that, specializing in that.
Mhm.
Um, what's what really got you into it even more besides the home and personal experience? Did you have any as a kid?
I didn't have anything happen to me as a kid, and that's kind of why it kind of just came out of my mouth last year. I was at a conference in Ohio, and I kind of made the statement of this field. I feel like it chose me. I feel like there was some sort of reason why this happened to me at this stage of my life, and it really has brought me purpose, and I'm proud of what we do. I'd like to believe we do it the right way, and it's just something that you take a sense of pride in, and everybody on the team really has that sense of pride. The greatest thing that's ever happened to me in this field is a text message I got from a client 2 mornings after our investigation, where she told me that her daughter slept through the night and she wasn't afraid to be in her room anymore. And that right there made it all worth it. The long hours, the going over the evidence, and all the research you do beforehand, and to know that you made a difference in somebody's life. Um, that was pretty special for me.
Awesome. And as far as your group, how many people are in it?
The group now stands at 10 people.
Cool.
It's we all work rotating schedules, and it works out good. 10 kind of seems big to people when I first tell them we have 10 people, but the most we take on a residential investigation is 5 or 6, depending on the size of the home. If we get into some of our bigger investigations, we've done some hotels in the area and that type of thing, a couple of churches, which it's very strange when a church contacts you, as a paranormal team and asks for help. It's an honor. It really is, but at the same point, it's a little bit it's a little bit different, something we didn't expect. But when we get the bigger investigations or we do the events, then we end up bringing the whole team. We rotate them. Everybody gets their chance to investigate, and I think it works out. And it's nice because it is 10 of us, and we are like a big happy family. If you go to our website, there's actually a team photo on there. I think there's only 7 of us in the photo because that's how many were here the night of the meeting. But we all enjoy each other's company, and we got some great people on the team. Todd Arnold helps me run the team now. He's the lead investigator and tech manager, and he's become one of my best friends. And it's amazing to see these people and myself grow in the field. To see where we were at one point and where we are.
All right. What about the events coming up? I know that you go to a lot of the conferences and are asked to speak.
Well, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. We were chatting, and for me, it's still kind of strange to know that somebody cares about what I have to say, and it's I hope I never lose that, because if I lose it, then I don't know. I don't want to run the risk of sounding arrogant, that type of thing. But it's an honor every time I get a chance to speak somewhere. And we hold small events around here. We're doing a ghost tour and dinner at a haunted hotel or haunted inn in Kewanee. That's April 14th. It's a small event. It gives people a chance to hear my presentation and then ask any questions that they have. And for about an hour, we rotate out and we give them a chance to investigate with us for a little bit. In May, I am going to be speaking at the Great Appalachian Spook Show. It's in McConnellsville, Ohio, at the Twin City Opera House. And for people that are in the area that have any way of getting there, the Twin City Opera House is amazing. I fell in love with that building last year. I spoke there last May, and the people that put the event on are great. And I was proud to be asked to come back. I'm speaking there along with people that probably know Brian Hornwall from the original Ghost Hunters, and a few others. Aaron Houdini will be there. It'll be the first time I meet Aaron, and that'll be fun for me. There's about 10 or 12 speakers going to be there that weekend. And then in June, we come back up here, and we're hosting the Paracontinental Lakeshore 2. And that'll be a lot of fun for us because we get to host and get to chat one-on-one with a lot of these people, and it should be a good time. And our main speakers that weekend are Scott Tepperman and Joe Chin from Ghost Hunters International, and John Kachuba, author of the paranormal. And we got Joey Ward and Bob Honeycutt, and a list of others that I'm not going to try to name them all because at some point I'll forget one and then I'll feel bad about it. But it's definitely a good event. And it'll be a lot of fun, and we're hoping for a big crowd. And all the proceeds do go right back to the Kiwani Inn. And again, you can go to our website. It's www.wi-fcpt.com, and there's a tab on there for the Paracon, and there's an events tab too if you want to come on and see where I will be at or any of the rest of the team.
Okay. And what about your paranormal radio show? I believe it's the same night as tonight.
Well, the paranormal radio show we do Thursday nights.
Oh, okay.
And it's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and it's over on blogtalkradio.com. And I think we may end up moving it to a network. We don't know which one yet. And I know we're kind of talking back and forth, you and I, about coming to this network. And if that works out for us, great. It's a fun show for me. It really is. I get to host a show with my girlfriend, Amy Fortney, and she's more than my girlfriend. She's really knows her stuff in this field, and actually met her at that Ohio conference I was talking about. So, so we end up doing that show every Thursday night. We've had some pretty great guests on the show, and we try to make it fun, but we try to also make it informative, where if somebody's going to tune in and they're into the paranormal, they can ask the questions that they've been thinking, without having to go to these paranormal conferences. They can get their one-on-one time when they come and listen to the radio show. They can call in and they can ask questions of the guests. And we've been doing that for about 3 months, and before that I had a show on liveparanormal.com for about a year. And that was a lot of fun too. It was a good time, and you get to interact with a lot of people and meet new friends. And it's this whole paranormal thing is a big network, and through the Paracons and the radio show and some of our other events, I've made some amazing friends in this field, and I feel very fortunate for that.
Cool. And in your bio, it says that you're currently writing a book called All Roads Lead to the Paranormal. You want to speak about that one?
I am writing a book, and to use the term writing a book is a little loose right now because it's something that I work on in my spare time, and you and I talk a little bit. And, you understand that I don't really have a whole lot of spare time these days, but I do. I sit down and I write in it. And basically, it's I had mentioned before about how I kind of feel like this field, or this whole paranormal field, chose me, and that's kind of how the book starts out. It talks about some of the things that happened in my childhood. It gets pretty personal, and some of the things that shaped who I am, and I pride myself on respecting people, and I pride myself on never posting anything poorly about people on the internet, and that goes back to the way I was brought up, and I just certain things happened in my life where my father ended up being hit by a car when I was young, and was in a coma for 6 years and ended up passing away. And that really shaped, who I was. I had to grow up early, and to say I grew up early would kind of be a lie, because that was a struggle. I was not a very happy teenager. Some things in my life were just not going well, and it gets into that a little bit. And the reason I brought up my dad is because when I moved into this house and I had all of the activity here, a lot of my family thought it was my dad. Because I was coming out of a situation that was very bad. I was in a very dark place, very depressed, and when all of this happened, a lot of my family thought it was my dad. So I kind of go into a little bit of that, and then some of our favorite cases, and some of the people that I've met in this field. And I can't stress that enough. If you just take the time, and I think you would agree with this, Danielle, that if you just take the time to listen to some of the people in this field, some of the people that have the experience that they have, 30 plus years in this field, if you just take the time, to be quiet and listen to them and learn what you can from them, they'll share some amazing things with you, and you can't help but learn from them. And I've really prided myself in that. That I'm going to be one of those people that's not going to bash people in the paranormal. I'm going to be one of the people that sits back and learns what he can from everybody. And at the end of the day, if it can make our team better, or if it can make something better for our client, then I think it's worth it. And the book was going to be something that I was going to get done with in June, and hopefully have it for the Paracon. But it's like I said, it's a slow process. It's a lot slower than I thought it would be. And for anybody that's done any writing, you kind of have to be in the mood for it. And when I'm in the mood for it, I can bust out a couple chapters at a time. But I think we're going to shoot for 2013 now.
I raised my hand to that, actually. Same with mine. It's not going anywhere for a while. Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to mention about the team? Any other just team events happening, or cases that are commercial that you're excited about?
Well, we do have a few commercial cases, and one of them I can't even really talk about yet because it's a very secretive thing. But if it happens, it's going to be a real big deal for us, and it'll probably set the wheels in motion for some other exciting things. Like I said earlier on, though, the majority of our cases are residential, and I really take a lot of pride in that. We do some of the commercial cases. We did Kiwani Inn and Funeral Home again a couple of weeks ago, and if people do make it to the website, there's a write up there from the few times we've been there. And honestly, the Kiwani Inn has produced the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me in this field, where I saw a full body apparition, and it was a shock, and just the way that she had appeared, because we're in the basement of an old funeral home, and all of a sudden, right in front of me, I have a woman hanging from the ceiling, and it was something that for a long time I struggled with, and I didn't, because your mind kind of tries to rationalize it in your head, and you're like, there's no way I saw that, and at some point you just have to understand the fact that you saw it. You can't explain it, but you saw it. And Tony and Todd were in the room with me at the time, and I'm really glad that the three of us got to share that. I mean, I was the only one that saw it because I was the only one in position to see it. But to say that Tony and Todd were in there with me, and quite honestly, they're two of my best friends in this world. It was a special experience to share with them, and we went back and I talked to the team about what had happened, and it ended up becoming the start of a relationship between us and the Kiwani Inn, and we do a lot of events up there now, and they look to us for answers if they need them, and that's an honor. It really is. But when it comes down to it, some of my favorite cases ever have been residential cases, and I could talk about a few of them if you would like. I just can't get into specifics of where and who.
Sure. Yeah, I just didn't want to get too confidential.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, and I know you understand this, confidentiality in this field is a big thing when you're doing residential cases, because the last thing you want is somebody show up at this place because they saw it on your website. So we try to make it real vague about where it is. We try not to post any pictures that will show anybody the exact location of where we are, that type of thing. I did notice in the chat room here, before I get too far into residential cases, that Mike had asked me if the inn was a funeral home before, and I might have misspoken there. The inn is on one side of the road, and they own a building on the other side of the road that used to be a funeral home, and they let us investigate both that night. And that's the first night we were there. That's when we had the experience. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that. That's my fault. But the residential case that really stands out to me, we had a case where we were called in where the homeowner was seeing an older gentleman and hearing a younger boy. And it's really different when you go on a residential case and a child is involved. It was sad to me because the boy had died in 1967. And at the time, I believe it was 2010 when we did this. So I kept saying, it's sad to think that he was here for 43 years. And we started interviewing the homeowner, and she had talked to the previous owners. And they had also seen this older gentleman, but had not spoken out about it. So we got in to investigate the first night, and it was very strange. We were down in a root cellar. We forgot our walkie-talkies, and I heard all this noise coming down the stairs, and I just assumed that it was Todd bringing us the walkie-talkies. We waited, and nobody showed up. Well, all of a sudden, we get this loud commotion in the room with us, and I see this black mass run out of the root cellar. And it was just an amazing experience. And it was something that, to this day, I can't really explain. But later that night, we did get some EVPs, and one of them said murder. I didn't get too much into the history of the house. I kind of skipped over it. But there's a 3-year-old boy that was in a foster home. And he was there for a couple of weeks. And he ended up passing. And they ruled it strenuous child's play. But in 2005, 38 years later, his biological siblings got the case reopened. And some of the things in that file were very, very sick. And there's just no way that a coroner this day and age could have ruled that strenuous child's play. And what it came down to is what really happened was the boy was raped and murdered by his foster father. So to realize that this man is still in the house and the boy is still in the house, and then get an EVP that says murder. Later that night, we got an EVP that told us to go home. We went back, I believe, a month later, and the boy's first name was Walter, and his middle name was Kristen. They called him Chris, and obviously for reasons of confidentiality, I'm not going to give away his last name. But there was some discussion about, in a newspaper article that the owner had found, that the boy liked to be called Chris. So I asked him a question, and I said, we're going to be here trying to talk to you all night. Would you let us know, would you like us to call you Walter, or would you prefer us to call you Chris? And we didn't get anything on that recorder. But we went over the recordings the next day on a recorder upstairs. We got a recorder that said, my name is Chris, or a recording that said, my name was Chris. And quite honestly, that's the most amazing piece of evidence that I've gotten in the 4+ years since we've been doing this. And it's the case that when somebody says, hey, what was your favorite case, and why does it stick out? That was my favorite case, and for obvious reasons. It's just, it's a case that really hit home. I love kids, and I don't think that this little boy should be struggling with this anymore. And so, yeah, that's a case that stands out to me. It's the most important case that I think we've done. And like I said, we've done close to, if not over, 100 residences. And if people go on the website and they say, well, we only have like 40 of them listed, well, a lot of times absolutely nothing happens. And I don't want to clog up the website with all of that stuff. So we end up putting what we feel are the most interesting ones onto the website. And if you go to our website, and I noticed that you had it scrolling there a little bit, the front page of our website is our mission statement. And if anybody goes to our website and reads that mission statement, that's what we're all about. And that's the reason we're in this. And yeah, it feels real good to be able to help people, and I can't stress that enough.
All right. Well, the site is wi-fcpt.com, and if anyone wants to go to it, they can look up everything that we discussed here tonight. The archive will be up as soon as it ends, so you can use it for anything you want. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Oh boy, gosh, nothing offhand. I'm sure when we get done, I'll be like, wow, I wish I would have talked about that. It's just, I can't stress enough to the people that may be listening that are in a paranormal group, or they enjoy the shows. The investigating that we do is nothing like the TV shows. I have respect for the people that do the shows, but a lot of people will ask to join the team, and they have this this idea in their head of what exactly it is that we do, and it's nothing like that. And the best compliment I think I've gotten on an investigation was from a woman at a restaurant that after about 2 times investigating there, she looked at me and said, "I love you guys, but God, this is boring to watch." And that was a compliment to me because we're not in there running around screaming, yelling, and causing any trouble. We try to be as respectful as we can to whatever may be in the building, and I just like to go about it that way and treat with it whatever's in there with respect.
Sometimes it's better not to get a whole lot of evidence at times too. Usually means not always a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I tell the residential cases that we do is if we come in here and we find logical reasons for the activity, that's a win-win. I mean, that's easier for us. That's easier for you. And it really comes down to that. I mean, once you have an investigation and you get any sort of evidence at all, well, then it turns into something much more. And I always tell people, a lot of our clients, they turn into family. We talk to them on a regular basis. We keep in touch. And it's, like I said, a lot of them have become like family. Where they'll keep in touch and they'll keep me up to date. And they're all Facebook friends. And, I don't give any of them away, but, a lot of them are Facebook friends. And they send me messages, once or twice a month and, just keep me updated on what's going on in their home. And I always tell them, it's a line you hear on TV a lot, but if you ever need us, give us a call. We'll be back, and we'll do what we can help. And they do. They take us up on that. And a lot of the homes that we've done, we've been there 2, 3, 4 times. And I never once, tell somebody no. I just it's kind of where I came from in this field, where when I needed somebody to come in and help, I couldn't get anybody to return my email. So I kind of came at it with the mindset of I'm going to answer every email that I get, and I do. And at some point that might become a little more difficult, but I do answer every email. And one of the things also that I tell the team is we may not believe every one of their claims. And as good investigators, I think it's important that there is a sense of skepticism, with their claims. But one thing you need to remember is that the client believes every single one of their claims. In their heart and in their mind, they believe everything that's happening. And it's our job to go in there and try to find logical reasons, or at the very least make them comfortable in their own home, because nobody should be uncomfortable in their own home. It's not something that you should have to live with. And we try to get them to a point where there's a comfort level and they can at least live with it. And that's our goal. We try to make people feel more comfortable. And it sounds real simple, but that's the final goal.
Well, we have one more question, and
Sure.
so Mike is also asking, do you remove spirits or do any spiritual work? Is that what you were referring to before?
As far as removing things from the home, I don't feel comfortable enough doing that. I don't
So do
have
you call
enough
people
experience
in?
with it. We do. We have people we can contact. One of the people that I love to pick her brain is Julie Velasquez. She lives in Illinois, and it's probably like a 5-hour drive or 6-hour drive for her. But we've had, the cases that have been, and I think people use the word evil or demonic too much. I like how Mike said strong spirits. There's a lot of strong spirits I think that are misunderstood, and that they're trying to communicate with you, and that's the only way that they know how. They haven't mastered the art of communication yet. And sometimes I think people misunderstand, what they're doing. We had a client that broke down in tears because she felt something touch her stomach. Well, that could be a little child, and I'm not saying it is, but it's a theory. It could be a little child just trying to tap you and say, "Hey, I'm here," and it went from something that could be perfectly harmless to she thought it was the end of the world. And that's what I mean by making her comfortable and explaining some of this stuff. And getting back to Mike's question, when we do deal with something stronger than we're used to, we will call in somebody to help. I've gotten to the point now where quite honestly, I feel pretty comfortable with most situations. But I'm also smart enough to know that if I don't have the answers, I need to find somebody that does, because in the end, it's all about the client, and I don't want to make up an answer for them or be wrong. I mean, the worst thing we can do is give them an answer that we don't believe in 100%. I don't have a problem with any of our people on our team saying I don't know. I would rather them say I don't know than, give them an answer off the cuff, and it may not be the answer, because you don't want to give them false information.
Exactly. So, for a controversy question, what's your idea on orbs?
I think I posted this on Facebook the other day. Like I said earlier, I'm one of those people that kind of tries to stay out of the drama. And we all know that there's drama in this field.
Well, it's a valid thing. I mean, an orb is an orb. It's just there's a lot of dust that makes it a controversy.
The thing I tell people is that 99% of the orbs that I see, I write off as dusty immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If and when you get me a video and the orb has its own pattern, and its pattern is not influenced by a heater or a fan or an air conditioner, then I might pay attention. I just think that there's too many people in this field that put too much stock into orbs, and I try to respect everybody's opinion, and I will listen to them, argue their side, and at times you just have to agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not here to badmouth anybody. I just personally I don't put a whole lot of stock into orbs. I have people come up to me with these amazing pictures that they have, and they have all of these orbs, and you just want to kind of look at them and say,
it's dust.
Maybe you should just go home and clean the house. I don't know, but it's some of the pictures I get sent. I had one person who sent me a picture of their child under a blanket playing in the living room. Well, there's all of these orbs, as she said, above the blanket, and really all it is the blanket's dirty. It's just refracting off of the lens or off the flash, and you get it. And I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a real technical person, but I've talked to enough people in this field that have explained to me. Because when I first got into the field, I was one of those people that was one of my questions too. Is okay, people are telling me that this is a ghost. Now, what do you think it is? And I learned real quick from some people that I respect a whole hell of a lot in this field. That orbs, 99% of the time are nothing. And I'm leaving that 1% open because I don't want to shut the door on it completely, because I do believe that in certain situations, you can have that energy and you can have that ball of light. I feel more comfortable with it if it's a video and it has its own pattern. It's just that's my opinion, and there's going to be people that don't agree, and that's fine. But
Well, the thing I explain to people too is that it's not just like you look at it and it's a ball. I mean, sometimes they're oblong and they have different shapes to them, and they emit their own energy and their own light source.
Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned that one. What about ghost box? That's the next controversy here. A lot of people believe that because it has a set vocabulary or whatever, or like the radio ones, that I don't know that much tech either, but I know that there's a couple different kinds, and that because they emit certain things, they can be influenced. But if you put them in something that blocks the frequencies from the other radio signals, then it's a valid point.
I've had the pleasure of using one of the original Frank's boxes, and I spoke a little bit about Julie Velasquez, and she owns one, and she used it on a case for us at a home in Wisconsin, southeast Wisconsin, and there was a lot of strong spirit activity, and that was about the closest I've ever gotten to proclaiming something as demonic. And I ended up not saying it was demonic because I really felt like it was the client's father. There was a lot of history there that explained a lot, but I had the chance to use the Frank's box, and we used it for about 15 minutes, and I was real skeptical of this thing, and nothing was happening. There was all this static, and Julie looked at me, and she said, "Well, Tim, it doesn't seem to want to talk to me." Why don't you ask her questions? So I went ahead and I asked her a question. And I said, well, what is your name? Pretty simple, to the point. And what came through the radio was nothing that would be on the radio. It was so clear. And it basically told me to F off. I'm censoring it a little bit. But it told me to F off. And I asked, what? And it said it again. And so I was a little bit taken aback, because going into that night, I didn't really believe that. I thought, like a lot of people, okay, it's just scanning through radio waves, it's picking out words and phrases through the radio, and that's all this thing is. But when it used those two phrases, I mean, I was blown away. And the next question I asked was, well, why are you saying that? And it responded, "You're a dick." and I just sat there and I had to laugh. I started laughing, and it was probably a more serious moment than I made it. But to have something that was coming through this box, calling me that name, it was interesting. As far as the obelisk, I had the opportunity last year to use that with Bill Chapman. He was at a conference that I was hosting, and we went into that funeral home that I was speaking about earlier. And Bill was using this obelisk, and I had never used one before. It was something that I just had never experimented with. And I was telling him the story about the woman hanging from the ceiling. And I had a psychic get a hold of me probably about a month after we put it online. And she told me the next time that I was in there that I should call her Mary Beth. So I was mentioning this to Bill, and before I got the chance to finish the name, the obelisk said Mary Beth. So whether that's coincidence or whether it's real, I don't want to make that judgment for people, but I was convinced that night. And as far as the radio, the shack hacks and the ghost boxes, Amy actually uses one, and she's the one that sets it up. She's the one that talks through it, and she seems to have some success with it. But again, a lot of it is just radio signals, and she's still at the point where she's trying to convince me, of what it's doing. And I want to believe it's just that, the Frank's box and the shack hack. I guess I'm still on the fence even after the F off or the "you're a dick" comment. Something about it just doesn't make sense to me. But I've had experiences with it that tell me I should believe in it. But I guess the skeptic in me just refuses to go all the way to that other side.
Okay. We have an interesting chat room going on right now about that.
I see that. And the obelisk is very expensive, I can tell you that. And at the time we did have it, it was sitting on the ground, so nobody was holding it.
Yeah. I've had that experience with the Maile vibe, the EMF Maile vibe. I've learned to put it down because otherwise it's just off the charts weird. Yeah, Ghost Box seems to work pretty good, cheaper too. I don't know, I don't actually own any of those. I've had people use them in my case, because my house is quite active, in an understatement. So they've actually used it from afar, and it's come through the computer. It's strange. We've had weird phone and computer signals and stuff happen.
Yeah. And I should mention that the activity that was in my house is still here to this day. We're talking 6 years later, and I've learned to live with it. When Amy and her daughter moved in here last year, it was almost a jealousy thing, because the activity really picked up, and it was almost as if the female spirit here was not very cool with me having another woman in the home. So the activity picked up pretty good, and it seems to have subsided a little bit now. But every once in a while, we'll hear a quick voice, and it's one of those things where you recognize the voice, and you know it's outside.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I think keep me posted on the book and the radio show and everything. We'll talk about that after the show too. But yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and you have a lot of interesting stuff.
Well, it was good to get to talk to you. I know we've talked via Facebook a few times here, and you never actually heard my voice or anything. So
Yeah.
thank you for not making fun of my Uber accent. And
What accent?
I know I don't think I have an accent, but there's a lot of people that tell me, "Hey, you sound like you're from Canada." I don't hear it.
Come
It
to
seems to be
California,
the
I
big
think you'll
talk
fit
at
in just fine.
every conference that I do is it's the big joke that I sound like I'm from Canada.
Well, you fit in here fine. I don't think they'd give a shit on that one.
Also, before we go, if any, my name on Facebook is FCPT founder Tim Maile. Feel free to send me a friend request if you want, and ask me any questions that you want after the show that you have forgotten during the show but need answered.
Alrighty. Keep me posted once again with the show, and when you finish the book, you're welcome back to talk about it and promote it further and the site. Anything you need, just let me know.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll definitely take you up on that. And like I said, it's looking like 2013 now, so we'll be talking before that, I'm sure.
Yes. Alrighty. I will see you later.
All right, take care.
Alrighty, guys. That was Tim Miley, and tomorrow night we have Andrea Perron, and she's an author. She's an amazing author. She's in the world of paranormal as well, and she'll be able to talk about her books and all the different productions and things that she's working on, the big projects, and so forth. Please join me at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. If there's any questions unanswered, you could always direct them to wi-fcpt.com or find Tim on Facebook or email. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for joining in. Bye.